Welcome back to our city, where I'm joined on the second half of the show by Angeline and Samantha, students at Benedictine Academy, and we're going to spend the second half talking about child slave labor in the chocolate industries. And first, Angeline, we'll start with you. What year are you in?
I'm actually a sophomore at Benedictine Academy.
And Samantha?
I'm also a sophomore.
Okay, so the first segment we had juniors and seniors on.
Yes.
So how did the two of you get involved with the junior and senior class on this whole issue to begin with?
Well, we do child slave labor, and the juniors and seniors, they do bullying and human trafficking. And pretty much how we all come together is because we want to try to help other people who can't help themselves, and that's how we come together, just as a community to help others. So
Samantha, what made you focus on this issue?
Well, as the juniors and seniors previously that was here, they were focusing on human trafficking. They were leaders to us. So as a sophomore class, we decided, well, they really touched us in what they were explaining about human trafficking. So we decided to make a group called the Shack Squad, Students Helping All Children. That Shack Squad was started by our sophomore class, and we really wanted to focus on the children aspect because the other branches that they were focusing on were mainly women and men, but we also wanted to point out that children is also being affected.
Okay, Angela, tell me, what is slave trading and how have you researched it? Tell me the definition of it.
Okay, so slave trading is when they traffic little children. This is mostly boys. They do it to girls as well, but it's mostly boys, and they kidnap these little children and they force them to work. We do chocolate slave trading, which is they kidnap these children and they're for chocolate industries. And this happens all over the world. It's not just in one certain area of the world. It happens everywhere.
And they get kids to what? To sell chocolate or to?
No. Okay, what they do is, it usually happens in Mali, South Africa, and in the Ivory Coast. What happens is they kidnap these children and then they send them off to plantations within those areas to pick for cocoa beans. And then these cocoa beans are then distributed to different factories, and then those factories eventually make them into chocolate.
And Samantha, how do companies recruit the children as victims? What do they tell these kids?
Well, to clarify that question, companies don't necessarily recruit the children. It's the plantations, the cocoa plantations, such as the Ivory Coast. They transport the children from mostly Mali into the Ivory Coast on the plantations to pick the cocoa beans. So just to say, it's not necessarily the companies that are escorting the children, but companies should be aware of what is going on and where are they getting their shipments from and who is actually doing the production and the picking of the cocoa.
Who do they target? Do they target kids whose families may be poor or uneducated?
Yes, mostly these families that are poor. They sometimes target them at local bus stops and tell them, well, if you come with me, you'll have a better life, and we'll prepare for you. Sometimes they go to families and explain to the families that if your child comes with me, they'll get a better life, which clearly that's not the case.
Do you think, Angeline, sometimes the parents may be involved in this in order to sell their kid in order to get some money for them?
Not necessarily, because a lot of the families, they send these children off to, like, if a poor mother, they'll probably send them a child off to the market to get something, and then a trafficker might come and influence the child, say, come here, come with me, and I'll take you to a better place, or I'll take you back to your mother. And so most of the time, no, it's not the parents that end up doing it. It happens on its own.
And to also add on, if they do come to a parent, the parent is mostly, they're trying to get a better life for their child, as they didn't have such a good life, so they want their child to have a good life, and they think that that's what they're going to get, but it is not.
It doesn't happen that way.
No,
So what are some of the effects on children? I mean, I guess in your readings or in your testimony that you've learned, the effect on the children can never be a positive. So what happens to these kids?
No, it's never positive. The children that are being trafficked are usually ages 12 to 16, And I personally, I'm 16 myself, and I'm a sophomore in high school, and these are usually the years where you become mostly educated. So these children, when they're forced to work, they're obviously not going to school, they're not getting an education, and these are the years where they're the future generation. So if they're not going to get an education, they won't get a proper job in the future. So when they're in their late 20s, that's not going to be the best life for them. And because they're not educated, they don't have the well enough knowledge to get out of the situation they're in themselves. So it's obviously a very negative effect on the children.
Samantha, is there any way that we know the chocolate that we're eating is from a company who may have had child slaves as their workers?
Well, fair trade companies, they're usually on their logo, their chocolate bar logo. It clearly says fair trade on it. Right now, we're not really clearly sure which companies are using child slave labor, but Green America, that's the source we've been going to quite often. They usually give a list of the chocolate companies that are not using child slave labor, and that is fair trade, and also the negative side, the companies that is using child slave labor. So our source basically right now is Green America, where you can go on Green America and they'll basically explain.
They'll explain it. So I guess the two of you and others have followed up on Green America.
Yes, we have.
Now, is there other sophomores involved in this project, or are you the only two?
No, there is other sophomores.
Okay, and do you meet with the juniors and seniors on the same issue, or you just on your own?
No, this is strictly something that the sophomores came up with. This is a group that we're trying to have in the school. So this is something mainly we're working on.
So we don't know any names of the companies then?
Well, right now...
We shouldn't point them out anyway.
Well, clearly, in 2002, they signed a form basically explaining they won't use child slave labor. But as of now, we've been researching that Hershey's haven't necessarily done anything to progress, as other companies such as Nestle or Cadbury, they have progressed. They have been trying to stop child slave labor in their productions, and clearly now they are using fair trade, or they're trying to use fair trade.
So this is just where the cocoa beans are grown, because they're grown in a much warmer climate, as opposed to where the chocolate is manufactured, which is a lot of those, like in the United States,
yes.
in Pennsylvania, sort of. How do people take a stand against it? I mean, education has got to be a big thing. How else do you take a stand against this? Samantha, we'll start with you.
Well, how we took a stand was we made, make it fun a little bit and educate our school, we made a rap also, and this rap basically said a few things of what it was. We also met with Shashi Kara in the Crimes and Drug Department at the UN, the United Nations, and the Blue Heart campaign. We posted it on our Facebook pages, where other people can post it on their Facebook pages and get aware of it and read more about the Blue Heart campaign, what the United Nations is trying to do.
Angela, what do your friends say when you get involved in an issue like this? I mean, I find it fascinating, but 16-year-old young ladies, what do they think?
They're actually like, how did you ever get into this? Why, first of all? And I'm just saying, I have a really great life, and there's so much I have, there's so much that's available to me. And when I look at the children that are being forced to work, most of these children don't even get to taste the chocolate that they're making, and it's horrible. And I mean, I feel like if I shouldn't be treated that way, no other child should be treated that way. So that's one of the reasons, my motivations to doing this. So yeah.
And at some point, hopefully, we're going to get you into the school system. You'll be able to do this with the school kids as well throughout the city. Are there other issues you're involved with at the school now, or?
There is also, we've been focusing more on the Blue Heart campaign. I would like to ask, do you know basically what the Blue Heart campaign, because I can elaborate.
Well, when I met with the students at Benedictine, they talked about it. So we're going to have another show, I hope, and carry this further if we can.
Okay.
But I want to thank you for joining us on the show. And I look forward to working with you in implementing some of your thoughts and basically your educational ideas for young people throughout our city.
Thank you.
For Angeline and Samantha, for Ariana and Caroline, Cynthia and Sheila and Geraldine and Shisan and Chelsea, I'm Chris Bolwage. I've taped over 1,000 shows here at Cablevision, and this was probably one of the most fascinating. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.